I know the whole houseplant trend and that sort of stuff really got popular and picked up speed in the last year or so with, you know, all the quarantine stuff happening and all that. And it's all really placed this bigger emphasis on having rare plants and these expensive plants, and it's driven up the prices of lots of these rare plants. But on top of that, it's kind of all the hype, you know, everybody's wish list has one of these really rare plants on it that is really hard to get a hold of. I've seen a lot of examples of these rare plants in like purge pages that I follow and just other random places that I just kind of follow for news and updates about houseplants. And I'm noticing a lot of them look very similar to their like more common or uncommon but still like gettable houseplants that most people can get in their area. The first is one that I feel like everybody loves, and I mean I'm included in everybody really, but it's the silver stripe, cream splash, Rio, Gabby, all those sort of varieties of the heartleaf philodendron that are related to Brazil, just more variegated. Gabby I'm going to exclude from this really, and so is Rio, because they do look quite different than most of the other ones on that grouping. So really just the silver stripe and the cream splash. They look super pretty, and I'll admit I really love these plants, but if you're on a tight budget, these aren't really necessarily easy to get, or even if you do find one, they're not really affordable for a lot of people. And I've seen more and more, especially I guess it's since summer kind of came into full swing here and all that sort of stuff, but a lot of people are confusing their regular Brazil philodendrons with like silver stripe and cream splash and all that. And that's because you can sun bleach. That's like the terminology that they use. You can sun bleach your Brazil philodendron. And Brazils are not very hard to come by in most places. Obviously it's different everywhere, but in most places it's not very hard to come by a Brazil, and they're very accessible and affordable for most people. But when they're exposed to a ton of sun, they get more of a cream tone on their yellow striped variegation that they have going down the middle half or whatever have you of the plant. So if you're looking for a cream splash or silver stripe or one of those varieties, just because of the look of it, you can get a very similar look from your Brazil if you do expose it to more sun. Now, of course, if you're looking for those rare plants just to have those rare plants and say that you have one, that's totally fine, and this isn't gonna work for you. But this is just if you like the look of it and you're trying to achieve something similar. Because I know sometimes Brazils can kind of take on a more dark green and then neon green kind of coloration, and then there's a dark green and yellow. And then I've also seen some people have the dark green and kind of more creamy yellow color when they do expose it to sun bleaching. The second one isn't actually as common of a rare plant to want or for people to even have, but it's called a glacier pothos. And this one to me looks a lot like an enjoy pothos or a pearls and jade pothos, depending on the variety of the pearls and jade. Because there's some pearls and jade, of course, that have like less speckles in it and are kind of similar to enjoy, but they just kind of are in that gray area. But this looks very similar to enjoy to me personally. So it just seems like it'd be more worth just getting a cheaper enjoy pothos than trying to like, you know, shell out a bunch of money on a glacier pothos. And these rare plants that I'm going through, they might like range in prices. Not all of them are out of everybody's budget, of course. Some of them are like very affordable for rare plants. This is just, I wouldn't spend the money on it because there's some that look so similar to them. And enjoy, you don't have to do anything like the Brazil where you like sun bleach or anything like that. It just looks very similar to glacier pothos. And I know, don't come for me, I know there are differences in them, and I know that they have their differences and, you know, are worth the price point to certain people. I know all that. This is just if you were looking for that similar look. So yeah, glacier pothos, enjoy pothos, they're interchangeable look-wise to me, even though they are different plants. The next one actually shocked me that it was even a different plant because the differences are so subtle. And this one isn't one that's necessarily super expensive or anything, depending on where you find them and all that. It's just the fact that it's considered a rare plant when, I don't know, the fact that people are spending more money on this plant because it's considered rare. It's a silver lady Scindapsus, and it looks so similar to just the regular Exotica. And I love all Scindapsus. They're probably one of my favorite groups of plants. So I'm not saying at all that it's not a good looking plant or anything like that, but it just looks just like the Exotica to me. So I'm just like, Exoticas are super easy to come by during certain seasons and all that over where I'm at. But I just, they look the same to me. I wouldn't be able to point out the differences to you because Exoticas, they already vary so much leaf to leaf with their variegation and everything. So when you take a silver lady in there and then you're just like, okay, well, I have this leaf on my Exotica that looks just like your leaf on your silver lady Scindapsus, it's just, it's not worth it in my mind, and if you're looking for that look, go find an Exotica instead. The next one I probably would still buy just because I really like the plant, and it does have enough differences for me that I would like it. But if it's someone that's just starting out, you know, I wouldn't, if I had to choose, I would choose the least expensive one, to be honest. But the Silver Glory string of hearts versus just a regular string of hearts that has good variegation. Because my string of hearts personally has a lot of that silvery blue kind of tones in it, and I know some people have like the darker dusty green kind of color. Mine just never was like that. I bought it at the silvery blue kind of state. Silver Glory does have those different shaped leaves, so they are a bit more easy to distinguish. So I do understand in that regard, but it still is just like, if you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of plants, it wouldn't be one of the like first ones that I got when I started getting rare plants. I would get ones that were like noticeably different from everything else. That being said, I really love the look of the Silver Glory, and I probably will get one eventually. I just haven't gotten to that point where I'm really looking to buy a ton of rare plants yet. But this is another one that I see get mistaked, like the two of them confused all the time, especially with new plant parents, just because they get super excited that they found like a really blue kind of toned string of hearts, and they're like, oh my gosh, is this Silver Glory? And I see people ripping them to shreds in the Facebook comments, and I'm like, how are they supposed to know? I don't know. I don't think we should ever do that, but it's just, yeah, they are kind of hard to tell apart sometimes, especially if the regular string of hearts does like kind of have a different shaped leaf on some of the leaves and everything. It does kind of get hard to tell them apart. The next one that I've seen, I say it has a common counterpart that looks similar, but the common counterpart, I have a hard time finding one that's like decently priced and then also healthy. Like if it's a good price, it's usually not healthy and it's usually already dying. And then if it's really expensive, it's usually decently healthy, but I've never really seen a really, really healthy one in stores, but it might just be my luck. But anyways, that's a tangent. But the rare one is the Sibu Blue, and particularly like when they get their fenestrations, but also when they're younger, that also applies. And then some of the Rhaphidophora tetraspermas that I've seen, they look so similar, and I swear it shouldn't be that way because they're so completely different. And I wouldn't, if I think I had them like side by side, I wouldn't be able to tell a difference. But some of the younger leaves on the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma look so similar to Sibu Blue because sometimes they take on that kind of blue-gray kind of tone as well, and it just gets so confusing. Granted, I would still get a Sibu at the first available opportunity that I had, and I'm keeping my eye out for that one. But this is just, if you are really, really wanting it, it can just buy you some time to get the tetrasperma because they look similar enough, and I know it's got a different growth pattern and everything, but it still is just a nice addition, and maybe you should just get both anyways. But those are just some of the rare plants that I think look very similar to their common or uncommon but easily accessible other houseplants. Let me know what you guys think though down in the comments below, because I know everybody has different opinions on this sort of stuff. This was just kind of my observations from what I've seen over the past couple years, especially with the resurgence of, not resurgence because it's really just a spike in interest for all these rare plants. But thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please hit the like button down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.